The moment Keran marched up my driveway, wagging a stack of HOA violation papers like she was serving a royal decree, I knew this was going to be good. Not just annoying, deliciously good. Because while she believed she was about to put the troublesome neighbor in his place, she had no idea who I really was or the authority I carried. And when someone tries to evict the city inspector over an ugly lawn, well, that's a story nature itself begs to witness. It all started on a warm Saturday morning when I stepped outside to trim the hedges. I hadn't even pulled the cord on the trimmer yet when Keran, in full combative stride, appeared at the edge of the property. Her sunglasses glinted like a villain reveal in a low-budget drama, and behind her, her daughter, head buried in her phone, trailed with the enthusiasm of a bored cat. Keran didn't waste a second. "Your lawn is an embarrassment," she snapped. "The HOA has received complaints, and as head of the beautification committee, I'm issuing you a formal warning." I raised an eyebrow. My lawn wasn't perfect, but eviction notice ugly? Not even close. "That's so," I said. She thrust the papers into my chest. "You have 24 hours to fix it or face penalties. I'll be inspecting personally." Now this was interesting because I was scheduled to inspect her property that very week as part of routine city code review. But I kept my cool. No need to reveal the twist too early. As Keran continued her tirade, her daughter wandered toward the back pasture where my cows grazed lazily. A few seconds later, I heard giggling and the rapid-fire clicking of a phone camera. She was taking selfies with them, right up against the fence, pouting like she was posing for a rustic influencer photo shoot. Then she turned, spotted me, and waved. "Your cows are cute," she called out, still snapping away. I grinned. Keran kept ranting, completely unaware that her daughter was on a mini photo spree in my field, and she definitely didn't notice me walk toward the equipment shed where my manure loader sat, idling, massive, and undeniably photogenic in its own chaotic way. As I rolled the loader forward, its low rumble turned the moment into an accidental photo shoot. Keran's daughter lit up, posing with the cows shifting around her and the machine looming behind me. It was harmless fun, yet I sensed this moment would snowball into something far bigger than any HOA complaint. Absolutely unbelievable. Keran didn't discover the photo shoot until later that afternoon, and honestly, I wish I could have captured her expression when she finally saw the pictures. But before that glorious meltdown arrived, I had my own day to get through. Specifically, the part where I prepared for her upcoming inspection of my lawn, which she'd scheduled with theatrical severity. From her perspective, I was just a homeowner scrambling to avoid fines. From mine, I was a city inspector waiting for the perfect opportunity to teach her a lesson in humility, and fate for once seemed eager to collaborate. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, I was cleaning some tools near the barn when I heard loud, indignant footsteps. Keran's daughter stormed across the yard, phone in hand, frantic as if she'd just discovered evidence of a crime. "Did you photobomb me?" she demanded, not angry, just bewildered. I shrugged. "Your cows photobombed you? I was just driving." She flipped the screen toward me, and there it was. A sequence of selfies featuring her smiling, cows milling around, and my manure loader rising in the background like some industrial monster emerging for the finale. I couldn't help laughing. She cracked a grin, too. "These are actually hilarious," she admitted. "But my mom is gonna freak out." Right on cue, we heard the unmistakable clack of Keran's sandals. She marched over, laser-focused on the phone. "What did you take pictures of?" she demanded. The daughter showed her. The silence that followed was priceless. Keran's mouth tightened. "This machinery is dangerous. You can't operate that while she's near it. I could file a complaint." I folded my arms casually. "Funny you mentioned complaints. Didn't you say you'd be inspecting my property tomorrow?" Keran blinked, recalibrating her indignation. "Yes, and it will be thorough." "Good," I said, "because I plan on having a full inspection of my own to conduct shortly." If confusion had a mascot, it would have been her face in that moment. But before she could question me, her daughter tugged her arm. "Mom, relax. The pictures are fine." Keran shot me one last glare before dragging her daughter home. I watched them go, knowing tomorrow would flip everything upside down. She thought she held authority, but the real inspection, the one that mattered, was mine. And it was coming sooner than she'd ever expect. What Keran didn't realize was that her little crusade had ignited a chain reaction. The HOA president had already emailed me earlier that day asking for clarification on her sudden complaints, and several neighbors had expressed relief that someone was finally standing up to her. If Keran believed she was building a case against me, she was building one against herself, brick by brick. Morning arrived with the kind of calm that only exists right before chaos. I woke early, brewed coffee, and double-checked my inspection clipboard, the same clipboard every city official in our department uses. Today, it wasn't just a tool. It was poetic justice, disguised in municipal stationery. Keran had scheduled my lawn evaluation for 9 sharp. My official inspection of her property was scheduled for 9:30. I didn't plan it that way. Fate simply enjoys a good punchline. At 8:55, I stepped outside just as Keran strutted across the cul-de-sac. She wore her HOA badge like a sheriff's star and carried her own clipboard filled with color-coded tabs. She greeted me with the kind of smile someone gives before delivering bad news they've been rehearsing in the mirror. "I hope you've improved your lawn since yesterday," she said, scanning every blade of grass like she'd trained at a botanical boot camp. I kept my expression neutral. "Go ahead and take a look." She did, with the intensity of a detective trying to crack a cold case. She measured patchiness, scrutinized edging, and even crouched down to inspect soil moisture. Meanwhile, I sipped my coffee and watched her discover absolutely nothing violation-worthy. Her frustration thickened by the minute. By 9:28, she snapped her clipboard shut. "Fine," she huffed. "You pass. Barely. But your property still brings down the neighborhood aesthetic." It was adorable, in a villain monologue sort of way. "Now," she continued, "I'll be returning later with a full HOA report." I glanced at my watch. "Actually, we're not done. I have an inspection too." She blinked, confused. "Of what?" I lifted my official badge. Her expression melted faster than ice on asphalt. "City code enforcement," I said. "Routine annual evaluation. Your property is next." Keran sputtered, "But you can't just—" "Oh, I can," I said calmly. "And you scheduled it yourself months ago." Her daughter, who had wandered outside with a granola bar and zero enthusiasm for morning drama, perked up. "Mom, is this about the flower bed again? Because your roses are basically dead." Keran glared at her daughter, then back at me, trapped between denial and dread. I began walking toward her property. "Shall we?" I asked. The color drained from her face. For once, she didn't have a rehearsed line or prepared lecture, only silent panic. As we approached her yard, several issues appeared immediately. Overgrown shrubs, poorly wired decorative lights, a cracked walkway, and the once proud flower bed, now a patch of dry soil. Keran stopped mid-step, realizing this inspection wasn't going to end with a friendly warning. It was accountability arriving right on schedule, and she knew it instantly, too. Keran stood frozen on her walkway, staring at the wilted flower bed as if it had personally betrayed her. I clicked my pen and started noting the obvious violations. Her eyes followed every movement, horrified. For someone who loved handing out warnings, she reacted to receiving one like it was a catastrophic event. "Those lights," I said, pointing to the tangled string drooping across her bushes, "aren't rated for outdoor use. That's a fire hazard." She sputtered. "They're decorative." "They're dangerous," I corrected. Her daughter crunched her granola bar loudly, muttering, "Told you that weeks ago." Keran shot her a look that could have curdled milk. We moved down the walkway. The crack near the front step was wide enough to swallow a small keychain. I knelt, inspected it, and jotted another note. "Trip hazard. This needs repair within 30 days. Keran clutched her clipboard to her chest like a shield. This is ridiculous. I maintain one of the finest homes in the neighborhood. Then this should be easy to fix, I replied calmly. We reached the side yard, the moment things took a turn from inconvenient to incriminating. Behind her decorative fencing lay a mountain of hidden clutter. Broken patio furniture, rusted tools, empty paint cans piled like a modern art disaster. The daughter groaned, embarrassed. Keran gasped, then attempted to block my view with her body, which was about as effective as shielding a volcano with an umbrella. "This area is under renovation," she blurted. I pointed to the rust streaking down the siding. "It's been under renovation for a while." Keran's expression flickered between outrage and panic. "You can't cite me for this. This is my private property." "It's city property when it violates code," I said. "And you know that." She deflated, shoulders sinking. Her power, her favorite accessory, was slipping through her fingers, and she knew it. Meanwhile, her daughter wandered inside, likely avoiding the incoming storm of indignation. By the time the inspection ended, Keran had accumulated enough violations to fill several pages. Nothing catastrophic, but certainly enough to require cleanup, repairs, and, most importantly, humility. She stared at the paperwork as though it weighed 50 pounds. "I expect compliance within the listed timeframes," I said. "And if I receive more baseless HOA complaints from you, we'll have another conversation, officially." Her voice trembled. "So, we're even?" I shook my head gently. "We're fair." For a moment, just a moment, something softened in her expression. Maybe respect, maybe acceptance. Or maybe she finally realized that power isn't meant to be swung like a hammer, especially when your own house is made of glass. As I walked home, her daughter poked her head out the door and whispered, "Those cow photos are going on my story." I laughed. Somehow, that felt like the perfect ending. Enjoying this wild showdown with HOA Keran? Stick around and hit subscribe so you don't miss more real-life twists and neighborly chaos. And drop a comment. What would you have done if Keran tried to evict you over your lawn?